Well, the fashion world is in shock and mourning today. We got word just a few hours ago that designer Karl Lagerfeld has died, a giant in the fashion industry, of course. Lagerfeld was creative director for three of the best-known houses in the world: Chanel, Fendi, and his own Lagerfeld label. He was 85 years old. Let's bring in CNN's Jim Bitterman in Paris, reporting, Jim, on a legend in the world of fashion.
Absolutely, Becky. He was so well known to all of us here in Paris, especially in the journalistic and fashion communities. He was around all the time, instantly recognizable with his white ponytail and his sunglasses and whatnot. And he was always extremely generous with the press. He would give plenty of time to speak to everyone and explain his latest ideas for fashion, which basically were that one should never be boring with fashion, that fashion wasn't something that people had to have. It was something that they bought because it was interesting. And so he always tried to keep it interesting. He was really a legend and an icon as far as the French and Parisians were concerned. Everywhere around there are tributes today, including from some of his competitors. Bernard Arnault, the chairman of LVMH, said, for example, that I'll always remember his immense imagination, his ability to conceive new trends for every season, his inexhaustible energy. And that was something that people really remarked on. He never stopped. He, at one point late in his life, he said, if I ever stop, I'm going to die. And it practically happened that way. The last fashion show that he created was January the 22nd. And he didn't show up for that fashion show. And right away, the rumor mills started grinding away, thinking that perhaps his health wasn't good. And apparently it wasn't. Becky?
Jim Bitterman is in Paris for you, where it is 4:21 in the afternoon. Tributes and memories pouring in from across the fashion industry, and that, of course, is global. Let's talk to Alex Badia, who is the style director for Women's Wear Daily, or WWD. Lagerfeld will, of course, be remembered for his designs and for his influence on the fashion industry. As we look at some of his work, like the champagne-coloured dress worn by Claudia Schiffer, or this huge furry hat on the head of Kate Moss, the simple elegance of this black dress worn by Naomi Campbell. Can you help define what it was that made his fashion designs so special?
Well, I mean, that's a big question. I think that he kept on evolving with time. He was a designer of the modern era. He was the perfect Instagram designer as well. So he was able to create the perfect context to move fashion forward. He was never interested in lifetime achievements. He was always interested in the next collection that he showed. He did everything from taking people to the moon to an old Titanic-inspired collection. He was really a visionary and a popular culture icon.
Well, it seems everyone in the fashion industry deeply moved by Lagerfeld's passing. Anna Wintour, editor-in-chief of Vogue, and perhaps the most famous fashion journalist in the world, said, and I quote, "Karl was so much more than our greatest and most prolific designer. His creative genius," she said, "was breathtaking, and to be his friend was an exceptional gift." Let's just discuss how prolific he was. To be the head of three fashion houses at the same time does seem to be quite unbelievable.
Well, also, let's not forget, he was also an acclaimed photographer, a videographer. He constantly did collaborations with young people like Kaia Gerber, the daughter of Cindy Crawford, just came out. So he not only staged runway show after runway show, he was present in culture every day. He transcended fashion. If you show his picture, people recognize his silhouette, his ponytail. There's so much that he created constantly. He's an ultimate example for young designers and for his contemporaries. He's definitely going to be remembered as the best designer of the 20th and 21st century.
Right, and I wanted to discuss what you think his legacy will be for those young designers who one assumes at fashion college and beyond, and probably before, will have studied every seam, every warp and weft of the material that he used to design these amazing designs. What is it, do you think, that these youngsters will get out of this legacy?
Well,
what does he leave?
I think that he was very clear. He defined being a fashion designer today as being an athlete, and he was ready for it. He never thought of fashion design as an effort or as a job. He made it his life. He said famously, "For me, designing is like breathing. So you don't ask me why I breathe." That means that he was naturally a born designer. I think that he's leaving a legacy not only about fashion, but a lot about work ethic and the love of the métier, the love of fashion. And he reminded us that fashion is about dreaming, and he really made us dream every day. When you went to those shows, let me tell you, you forgot where you were. He brought you in a different universe. And that is what fashion is meant to do. He also created what we understand by...
Go ahead.
He created what we
go
understand
ahead,
by... Yes. He created what we understand today by a modern luxury home. He created this idea and the format of a luxury fashion house, basically.
He had a cult-like status, not just in the fashion world. I mean, this was a celebrity known the world over. There will be people who say, really? A fashion designer? Does he deserve that?
Absolutely, because as I said before, I think he totally transcends fashion designer as the stereotype that we see. He affected culture. He understood what it meant to be part of the conversation. I like the, excuse me, I like the idea that he said that I'm not interested in lifetime achievement. I'm only interested in the next collection. I think that also he understood the world. He read ways everywhere, as he said. So he really was part of the larger cultural conversation. So that is not only a fashion designer, he's a cultural influencer, for lack of a better term.
No, fascinating. We've just we lost communication with you just briefly there, so I think I'm going to wind it up here in case we lose it again. But Alex, it's been a joy having you on. Thank you for your insight into the life of Karl Lagerfeld, who, of course, has died today. Be sure to check out CNN.com's extensive covering of the passing of Karl Lagerfeld. In addition to the story of his remarkable career, there's a photo gallery with dozens of photos of Lagerfeld and his remarkable fashion designs.